I'm an addict, frankly, of this program. It's such a good fit for me personally. And this is what I find talking to other people that are committed. We're all like, it feels like we're in a cult sometimes. We're so giddy, and I just never get tired of it. It's fantastic. I feel very lucky.
You are listening to What's Next? Conversations with Boomers. And I'm Barb Desmarais, your host. Now, on this show, we have talked about exercise. A couple of times we've done episodes on, we had an episode on strength training. We also had an episode with the super agers, David Kravitz and Larry Wolf, talking about what we as boomers need to do in terms of exercise. Today, we have another episode on exercise, and this is a specific exercise program I think you're all going to love. It's not a sponsor. I'm not promoting them in any way that benefits me. It's just simply for your information. Really interesting. It is called Essentrics, and I have a feeling that most of you have never heard of it. And I just learned about it through my sister, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And I really loved it. Today, we have a guest on who is an avid follower, supporter, participant of Essentrics, and she also has taught it a lot. Her name is Susan, and she does not work for Essentrics, but knows a lot about it. And I knew that she would be the perfect guest. She's actually a friend of my sister's. So that was the connection. So Susan, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Barb. It's my pleasure to be here. I've never done a podcast before, so it's a new experience for me.
And we're all about new experiences, right? We're all about growth.
Growth and new avenues that open up for us.
Right. Okay, so I know that you are not employed by Essentrics, as I said, but I would say that you're an enthusiastic participant, and you have been for some time. So what do you know about the origins? So, for example, where did the name come from?
So it's a very interesting name that they have for this technique. It's known either on PBS TV in the US as classical stretch or eccentrics, and it's spelled with two S's instead of, it's a take on eccentric concentric stretching. Eccentric with the CC is elongated muscles, elongation as ballerinas would do, dancers, and they changed it to ESS because that is the fundamental, I would say, concept of this form of dynamic stretching in motion. The muscles are elongated and then strengthened by moving them in the elongated position, as opposed to the concentric stretching one often finds lifting weights, where you shorten the muscle and strengthen it in the shortened position. And this is sort of fundamental concept of the program. You elongate, and by strengthening your muscles in that lengthened position, you open up your joints, and there are remarkable stories of solving pain issues from this approach. It made so much sense to me, sort of intellectually, when I came across it, that is part of the reason that I fell in love with the technique at age 63.
Which was a few years ago, right?
It was a number of years ago, yes. 13 to be exact.
13 to be exact.
So I hope that answers the question about the name.
Absolutely. Now, do you want to say a little bit about Miranda Esmond White, who is the founder and what do you call her, the head of the owner of Essentrics?
Yes. So Miranda Esmond White was a ballerina, went into ballet school at age 10, I believe, at the National Ballet School in Toronto, Canada. And so has a dance background. And she is the creator of this technique. And Miranda was a dancer. I believe at some point in her 20s, she might have had an injury that ended her dancing career. And then down the road, she got into the fitness industry and um, had a studio, and but realized she herself suffered from very severe back pain at times, and realized that the type of exercise that was out there, aerobics and so on, was not actually, it was bulking up her body. It was not keeping the long, lean, strong dancer body. So she decided to completely rework and create this program, which is always done to music. And it has choreographed sequences. And I think the other thing that's incredibly important is that we have approximately 650 skeletal muscles in our body. And Miranda's philosophy is you must work and touch all of those muscles. You can't just work a part of your body. So it's a full body program.
So interesting. And I want to add that Miranda, right now, she is in her, would you say late 70s?
Yes, later 70s, approximately 77, I believe, and
Later
going strong.
70s.
Yes.
And she's a joy to watch. And you mentioned the music, and that's one of the things when I started doing Essentrics online, the music was just, it was just part of the experience. It just is because I did aerobics for many, many years, and, when I was in my 20s, the music was great, and then after a while, I just thought, "Stop all that pounding." I just and eccentrics, it's so gentle, and you can tell when you watch Miranda that she does mention often that she was a ballerina, but her flexibility, when I see her touch her toes and, when she's doing any kind of a forward bend type thing, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So it's sort of like she really hasn't lost that flexibility and strength that she acquired when she was a dancer.
Yes, I would say that's true. And then another very important part of this whole Eccentrics program is that her daughter, Sarah, was so intrigued in the early stages of Miranda's developing this method of work of dynamic stretching that she really felt that that it was important to sort of to take it out there. And so together as a mother-daughter team and another business partner, they've taken this out so that it doesn't just exist in one small studio in Eastern Canada. It's gone worldwide. And Miranda had her workouts on PBS, has her workouts on PBS for at least 25 years from the early 2000s on PBS, which is an American public television. And under there, it was known as classical stretch.
Right. Now, the program did start in Montreal, and that's where most of the studios are. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. There is one studio that is company owned. It's the head office studio, and they offer. It's right in the heart of Montreal, and they offer classes 6 days a week by various highly trained master trainers of eccentrics. So I'm very fortunate that I was born and brought up in Montreal. I moved away and lived elsewhere for a long time, but that is part of how I fell into it. A neighbor was talking about this, and I don't know if this is the right place to say this, but I am someone who has always lived an active life but not in a workout life. I never found anything that that I could stick with. I'm not super flexible, and so yoga wasn't a good fit for me. I dabbled in it like everyone has, and Pilates as well. And so I was actually stunned that I'm an addict, frankly, of this program, and it's not hard to do. It's such a good fit for me personally, and this is what I find talking to other people that are committed. We're all like, it feels like we're in a cult sometimes. It's so we're so giddy, and for myself, speaking personally, I just never get tired of it. It's fantastic. I feel very lucky.
Well, what attracted me right away was that how effective it was, but I wasn't, um having to turn myself into a pretzel. It wasn't hardcore. When I started doing aerobics and it got harder and harder, I mean, that's pretty heavy duty. Eccentrics is not, but that is not to say that it's not doing something for your body. It's not effective. And that's one of the reasons I think that it's so appealing to our demographic because that's what we want. I always say to people, the only exercise program that you're going to keep up is one that you like. Because people, oh, I do this and I love it, or I do this and I do this. But if you don't like it, you're not going to go back. So Essentrics is a program that I bet you come across a lot of other addicts.
Yes, yes, I have. At retreats that Essentrics have put on in different parts of the world, I've been to a few, not all, and certainly at the studio, we all smile at each other, and we all, on the way in and on the way out, we are so happy and feel so good afterwards. It's an unbelievable connection with people.
One of their selling points is that doing Essentrics, you can actually age backwards. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I can. And I'll just hold up a book. But this is Miranda's first book, Aging
Oh,
Backwards, and that
aging backwards.
calls it Aging. I think it was published in about 2014. It was on the New York Times bestseller list, as far as I know. And it's for anyone who'd like to find out more. It's a great book to read. But I can speak to aging backwards because having not been sort of a workouty kind of person, I found by my mid 50s and kind of late 50s that if I blitzed on gardening for 8 hours, I was like hardly able to move the next day. Whereas when I was younger, I could just do that and get over it. But I noticed there was sort of a change around that age. And so, uh, what I have noticed with my body, and started noticing it quite quick. So I didn't go into this being particularly fit and certainly not flexible. And I think I did not have strong muscles particularly. I mean, it was okay, but nothing special. And I noticed, I have noticed that I have built a lot of muscle, and this was all in my 60s. There's a myth out there that you can't build um, muscles when you get older. I beg to differ. I've toned my arms, my quads are much stronger. So I have, with my own eyes and seeing changes in my own body, my posture has changed and opened up. I have seen really concrete changes in my body, and I would venture to say that I'm more fit now, and I'm 76, than I was at in my 50s.
That's remarkable. And I want to add is that we are always told at this age that one of the most important things for us to do is strength training. And Eccentrics uses no weights. It's all our body weight.
Correct. That is correct. So it's based on the use of, gravity, the force of gravity, and so it's using our own body weight. In fact, it's because you're working in an elongated muscle position. It's actually contraindicated. It's not safe to add exterior weights. You just use the weight of your own arm because you're then, especially, you're more vulnerable when your muscles are extended. So there's a big component of strength training, and as well as flexibility and increasing the range of motion in the joints. Um and I would also add that the you might not feel, if you were to start this, right out of the blue as I did, you might not feel too much the first one or two sessions, but if you give yourself a chance and don't overdo it, you're going to find that as your flexibility increases, the work actually gets harder. So for me, after 13 years of doing this pretty regularly, I don't ever feel there's a ceiling or I've hit the end. I feel like I can always go further, and I love that.
I know too with Eccentrics, because as I've mentioned, I've only done it online. Excuse me. I've only done it online because we don't have, certainly not close to me. There's no studio. But they have separate, okay, here's classes for the 40 plus age group. Here's classes for the 50 plus, 60 plus, 70 plus, 80 plus. Do you stick to your own age category, or do you do whatever well, because you're not doing it online. You're not, are you sometimes doing it online, Susan? Or
Yes,
you
I
only
do.
do, you?
I when I don't when I'm not in this location where I have access to the studio. When I'm here, I sign up and get a monthly pass and go basically every day if I can. But when I'm not here, I do use ETV, which has in excess of I think 400 videos available. They're fabulous. Some of them are short as the classical stretch seasons are 23 minutes each. And I actually depend on that. I rely on it to keep up with this because it feels so good. I really don't want to go backwards in the wrong sense of going backwards.
Mhm. Such a good testament to this program. So I was gonna ask you what drew you to it, but you've kind of answered that, unless you want to say more.
Well, the actual way in which I stumbled into it really was that a neighbor of mine here had mentioned it, that there was this program that was dance based, and and it was close by. It was literally the studio was at that time. It's a little further now, but it was literally 4 minutes away. But I kind of was saying to myself, "Oh yeah, an exercise program. I'll never follow." Like my history was to never maybe go once or twice, and that was it. So I wasn't thinking I would become hooked on this. But I heard it from a neighbor, and then it's kind of a fun story. The local Montreal Gazette, there was a feature of Sarah, the daughter, in a deep plie training the famous Montreal Canadian hockey team. And she had her back to the camera, and the whole team was in front following her. And that really, I twigged that the studio my friend was talking about was related to this picture and the fact, and I thought, gosh, if the Montreal Canadiens are doing something like this must be a pretty worthwhile program. So then I Googled it and then wandered over and signed up for a 1 month boot camp, not knowing what I was getting into. And pretty much from the first session, I signed up for a month, so I was going to go. And I signed up, and honestly, by I'd say day two, I was loving it. I felt
You
like
became an addict.
I became an addict right from there, from pretty much there.
Wow. Yeah, well, that would probably sell me too. Okay, if it's good enough for the, hockey team, then this must be pretty good. Now, what makes it stand out, in your opinion, from other exercise programs? So I was saying that, I had done many, well, I did it for years, aerobics. I also do yoga. I've done some Pilates classes. So what makes this stand apart from other programs that people probably have tried and might be doing?
Um, it's hard to put my finger on it exactly, but as I mentioned earlier, yoga, I'm not very flexible person, so yoga and holding those deep stretches never felt right for me, and I wasn't very good at it. Pilates had a lot of equipment, and I wasn't always in a situation where I could partake of that. When I started as Essentrics, it just felt intuitively so right. It is based on the natural body movements. There's nothing in us, and there's a lot of attention to safety and clean alignment. And I would say after doing thousands of classes and workouts, which it is by now, I have never once felt that a true eccentrics move was ever unsafe. And I've never injured myself in all that time. And so I love the fact that there's virtually no equipment other than maybe a floor mat, occasionally an elastic band, but there's nothing added. It's just you and your body and possibly a mat. Mirrors are used at the studio, and they're very helpful because you can There's a lot of attention to body position and clean alignment. We build up things over our lifetimes where things get out of alignment, and that is the source of pain. I really believe that. So it's very simple, but quite complex at the same time.
Right, I found that to be as well. When you said there's no equipment, you're right, except she does use a band sometimes, and another thing she likes to use is a hemorrhoid cushion, right? She You've got and I
Yeah.
always when I first heard that, when I was watching one of the classes, I thought, "Does everybody have a hemorrhoid cushion?" It's just something
I
soft to
know.
sit on.
It is kind of funny to see that in the videos where Miranda introduces us. I think for some people, lying on your side, like doing the side leg lift component of the program, it's quite hard on the hip. I found it a little hard at the very beginning. I'm always on a just a regular yoga or studio mat, but funnily enough, after I kind of think toned up a little bit, I do it without. I've never used a hemorrhoid cushion. And I often do the workout without even the TheraBand, but it's fine to use that. But I just love that simplicity. So therefore, it's very portable. You could do it in a hotel room. You could do it on your back porch. You don't. I love the simplicity of that.
Me too. Well, another thing she does use, which everybody has, is a chair, right?
Yes, yes, that's correct. And in the studio here in Montreal, we use bars, which are two-level ballet bars. And so often the workouts are standing and full body trademark exercises, a lot of work in the upper body and corrective posture work, opening up 'cause we're all working and moving forward all the time, so we tend, all of us, including certainly myself, very tight in the back here. So I've actually changed my posture from the years of doing this program. So there's the floor, excuse me, there's the standing work. Often in a 1 hour workout, you'll get a mat work and then bar work where you work on the bar. And it's lovely when you're in an hour-long class, to get all three components. There are some videos that are an hour long, for example, the class of 2012, one of my very favorites, and you get all three components in that particular workout online.
'Cause most of the online classes are only about 30 minutes, right?
Yes, 30, some are 15 and targeted. One of the things I love doing when I'm working on my own, I could be a bit of a procrastinator, even though I love this. So I often will open up a classical stretch season or some of the new videos they're producing right now, which are 23 minutes. That was the time for TV, but it was like a half-hour program and then a few ads. So the workouts were always 23 minutes, but it's a magical number because psychologically it doesn't seem too hard to do it. It goes quickly and yet it's very effective. So when I'm working out on my own, I'll often go to the 23-minute videos and then maybe do two because once you get started, it's easy to continue. But 30 minutes, some are 15. And they've broken down the workouts to target different parts of the body, back pain, hip work. Um, the whole torso is worked in this program.
Shoulder, I know she talks a lot about people who have frozen shoulder. This would be a good one.
Yes, yes. And because we tend, all humans tend to be like, we work forward, everything's ahead of us, and especially now with computer work, I think we're going to be producing a whole generation of people who never, they're stuck in front of that computer for 5 hours working in, and I think this could be an unbelievable technique for to compensate for this type of standing in that or staying in that position too long.
Absolutely. Okay, if somebody is 65 years old, they've never been in an exercise class before, would you recommend it for somebody that has not worked out before and they're
I
65?
would because um you touched on earlier, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, but essentially the moves are the same. And the only difference, in my opinion, is the even a more advanced practitioner would maybe be able to go a little further in the stretch. That's what changes is how deeply you can do it. So you, as I did, I started off at a very modest level, but the entry point is perfectly fine for. I was 63 when I started, and I hadn't been doing any exercise at all. So you just start and you do your best at the exercises, and it's non-judgmental. And as Miranda constantly says, go to the if you're in pain, go to the edge of pain, but don't ever ignore it or push through it. Just go there, and you will find your body, which is a miracle. Our bodies are miracles. But gradually, as you work and don't push into pain, your body will actually start to change and respond to. And so there's a big focus on gentle movement. Um, as Miranda has said in a lot of her videos, which are also online, the mantra of no pain, no gain, which is the philosophy of a lot of people going to gyms, pushing hard, it can actually not be beneficial. Muscles can strengthen more when you're not too tight or stressed, or when you have the ability to relax but work them where things can slide and move, you actually get stronger faster. I believe that. So there's a lot of educational. I guess I'd like to add that another reason that this program has appealed so much to me, and I hear other people saying this as well, is there's a lot of scientific underpinning and information in this program about how our bodies work. And I that's always that educational component to me has been fantastic.
I agree. I like that part of the program as well. Well, excuse me, she's always saying, um, talking about the no pain, no gain, and why that is not good. She's often talking about it's okay if the muscles hurt a little bit. You don't want a knife pain. When you've got that knife-like pain, then that's no good, and to stop. And yes, I really love that. She explains this is for this. This will help you do this. This will be beneficial for whatever. And yeah, so it's a really good all-around program. So if you're 65, you've never done an exercise class before, in fact, you've not really exercised before, which that does account for a lot of people, this program would suit you perfectly.
Yes.
Now,
Or could I just interject there? I think one important thing is if people have specific medical issues, such as maybe they've had a hip replacement, knee replacement, it is always wise to consult with your doctor, I would say, for your own safety and just speak to a medical professional. But I would just add that for common sense advice for anybody. But yes, in my opinion, because I was that person, had been doing nothing. I was moderately fit, but I wasn't like an intense athlete or anything at all. And I just went right into it. And and it's sort of an ageless program as far as I'm concerned. At the studio, there can be 23-year-old students in the class. There can be the whole range. I might be the oldest at this point, but not always. I mean, that's also a lot of fun.
yeah, a mix of ages. I like that. And what about genders? Is there more, or are there more women than men? Is there an even mix of women? What do you experience?
It's not an even mix. It is heavily weighted towards women, but men do come. And, Miranda herself has trained, well, they were training the Montreal Canadiens. The strength and conditioning coach at the Montreal Canadiens at one point wanted, um, you know, the, his athletes to um, improve the flexibility aspect. So they worked with various Olympic athletes. They worked with a well-known female ice Olympic level ice skater. But in general, I would say in the classes and at the retreats and so on. It is mostly women, but there are men who love it. There are medical, doctors. There are a lot of people who are men who have bought into this as well.
Who knows how many people participate online,
Correct. Yes.
right? Because there also is the category of people that want to exercise, but no thanks, I don't want to go to a class. So they're much more comfortable doing it in their own home. So, and I was going to ask you about the demographic, but you've kind of answered that. So it's a whole range. As
Yeah.
young as 23, I'm sure there are people in their 80s that do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel it's something I could and would like to try to keep going with as long. I don't see an end. I just really hope that I feel this is keeping me vibrant and young. And if circumstances are such as they were recently, about a month ago, where I couldn't do the workouts, I was out of an internet connection location. And honestly, I'm telling you, after a week of not doing it, I could start to think at my hip. I could feel things happening in my body, and I just did not feel the fluidity. So I feel like I'm completely dependent on this program at this point.
It's incredible. Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my entire life is to have found this by chance.
Yeah, I knew you'd be a wonderful guest, and you've represented the program so well. The company, I'm sure, will appreciate very much how you've promoted it and raved about it. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Um, what I've been saying, it really comes from the heart for me. I'm not I can be a bit of a skeptical person when it comes to the wellness industry and all the pills and the this and the latest this and that. I'm a bit of a skeptic. So when I go on and on, I mean, my son has even told me that I have to chill a bit. I at the beginning I was so like I couldn't believe it that I was like going on and telling everybody about it. I had to sort of like calm down a little. It was a bit much. It was like an evangelical, it was unbelievable. But so what I guess I would just wanted to add there was that when you hear me talking this sort of enthusiastically about it after 13 years, um, I mean, I'm not faking it. I mean, this for me, my experience has been so unbelievable. I'd say it's like actually one of the best experiences of my entire life. I've met incredible people through it. Essentrics. One other thing I would like to add is in parallel with their fantastic website, their ATV, my personal ability to attend their studio, and anyone can come and attend. But they have this fantastic four-level, well thought out training program to teach people to teach this program or take it to another level for their own learning. And it's quite academic. There's a lot of material about the body and how the body works. It's I've known people to say it's one of the best, most rigorous training programs they've ever run into, and these are people who've been trained in other athletic methodologies. So I've loved and whoever would have thought that at the grand old age of 68, I became a level one instructor, which is how I met your sister. I offered classes and she called me and she was one of my students at a period of time where I was teaching. So I've
I was
loved
just
that.
going to ask. I was just going to ask you about talk about your teaching, because I know that you have taught. Are you still teaching?
I'm at this moment in time, I am not teaching. I'd love to teach again, but I move between two different cities in Canada, and and of course the pandemic came along and shut down a lot of live stuff, which is when my stint teaching in Vancouver came to an end because of the pandemic, and then I took up teaching again at a cancer wellness center and loved that. But it's a problem I can probably solve, but I just because I move around a little bit, it's hard to sometimes teach consistently.
Mm, I see. Okay. If somebody wants to learn more about eccentrics, can you give the website?
Yes. So the website is eccentrics.com and it's spelled Essentrics.com. The head office is in Montreal. And you can also seek it out under the name of Classical Stretch. The creator is Miranda Esmond White, and her daughter is a co founder, Sarah Esmond White. So, some of those ways, I don't think you'll have any trouble in people would not have any trouble in finding it. I think they have trained over 3,000 instructors who have participated in their training program, and there are probably 1,500 certified instructors throughout the world. Um, and one last thing I would add is if anyone is inclined to sign up for ETB, it's such a reasonable price for the quality of the material. Do it with a friend. Put it on your TV and get a couple of friends over. A friend. I love. It's just so much fun. It's the next best thing to being in a live class.
Yeah, well, as I've said, I've never been in a live class. I've just done it in front of my TV, and I feel like I'm in a class. I feel like I'm in the room because I've got this huge TV. And I tend to do exercise at night. I do a lot of things at night, not in the morning like most normal people do. So I can do it in the evening. Susan, just a huge thank you to you for coming on and sharing your knowledge and experience around eccentrics. It's been so interesting, and I know for sure we're going to have people that are going to watch this or listen to it and get on their computer and look it up and find out how they can participate. So thank you.
You are so welcome. It was a great pleasure to talk to you and to talk about what this has meant to me in my boomer years.
In your boomer years. Yeah. Yeah. See all the things that we could still be doing. And as we said at the beginning, continually growing. That's what we want to be doing. Stretching our bodies and our minds. And yeah, expanding. Not width-wise, but
I have a little grandson who's turning 1 tomorrow. My son, as the wife, have a baby boy, and I have said to them multiple he's well over 20 pounds now, and I can get down on my hands and knees, crawl around, and then when he wants to be picked up from the floor, I can get him into my arms and actually have the strength from this program to get straight up again and stand. So for that, I'm very grateful.
did you hear that, people? That is one thing that a lot of people complain. I can get down on the floor, but it's getting up that I can't do.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, and a pleasure meeting you.